This is my favorite thing to do. Welcome, everybody, to Assembly Budget Subcommittee number 5, Public Safety. We have several items, and it appears we have several people that would like to make some comments, particularly on the courts, and general comments. And so what I would like to suggest that we try to get through all the business, and then I'll switch to the items so that we can deal with the California Department of Justice and then end with the judicial branch for comments on Children's Law Center and the collaborative courts and anything else anyone wants to say. So bear with us as we get through some of the business that we need to get through, and then we'll get right into comments. So issue number 1, the California Highway Patrol and their capital outlay spring finance letter. Were there anything you want to open up? Okay. The spring finance letter proposal, the administration spring finance letter requests to shift the procurement methodology of the Santa Fe Springs Area Office Replacement Facility project from standard capital outlay to build-to-suit leasing. This requires a reversion of the current appropriation of $4.9 million from the motor vehicle account and new bill language. An increase of $32.4 million motor vehicle account to support the acquisition and design of office replacement projects in Truckee, $2.4 million, Santa Barbara, $9.9 million, San Diego, $12.1 million, Crescent City, $2.4 million, and Quincy, $2.2 million. And in the third, authority to appropriate prior year funds in continued support of the California Highway Patrol Enhanced Radio System, CHPRS. And so we don't have enough members to vote right now, but we can definitely have people report in. Do we have someone from the Highway Patrol? Is this a Department of Finance? There they go. Good afternoon. Could you gentlemen identify yourselves and then begin?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Assistant Chief Avery Brown with the California Highway Patrol, representing Commissioner Joe Farrow, who is unfortunately not able to be with us today.
Eric Knutson, Chief Administrative Services Division, California Highway Patrol.
Okay. We can do one at a time, and I ask a question, whatever or you can try to go through all three. Then we can have the committee ask, what's your pleasure? What's your?
Just go all the way through. Which one? The first one.
Mr. Chair, Eric Knutson, Administrative Services Division Chiefs. On the Santa Fe Springs project, we're looking to actually change our direction on that. Since 2005, we've attempted to get cap outlay project completed. On several occasions, we've had property that has all of a sudden gone away because the owners have changed their minds. This will be the third time around. We feel there'd be a better opportunity to be successful in completing this project with concurrence of the Department of Finance. If we change this development strategy of lease build to suit, we feel the environment is right. We feel it'd be competitive. We feel it'd be an advantage to the state. More importantly, we feel it could get it done. So that's really the reason that we want to switch from cap outlay to the lease build to suit process.
And number 2?
On item number 2, sir, the state granted us the privilege to do the Chippers Enhancement Project for our radio program. That program has been completed. However, there's some maintenance and infrastructure development and repairs that have to be done at a couple of the vaults and permissions that needed to be upgraded based upon federal requirements. So therefore, we're asking consideration for the additional allocation to complete the rest of the Chippers program and maintenance.
Wait, that number 3 or?
Number 3, sir.
3. What about the second item, where you're asking for quite a bit of money to support the acquisition and design of office replacement projects in about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cities?
Thank you, Chairmember Jones Sawyer. Randy Katz, Department of Finance. The CHP has identified dozens of offices that do not meet their needs, either seismically and or actually seismically and functionally. And many of them are a quarter of the size that they need to be. They are of a seismic rating where it's determined that there's a significant risk of significant damage during a Templar. And so In the current year, we appropriated funding to do a site search to identify those communities that would have land available that the CHP could acquire. And these five, based on our site search, these 5 communities have the greatest potential for an actual site, and therefore we're moving forward with projects to provide replacement facilities.
Okay. Okay, so on number 1, where you're going to build the suit, lease, this is a lease back. Is there an opportunity to purchase the building? And when does that start? Is it like in the first 30 days after completion? Is it based on an appraisal that was previously done before you started the project, or is it the appraisal done once it's completed? And just, how flexible is this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's the nice thing about the lease build to suit is everything can be negotiated. So what we come in is we come in with the term, Department of General Services real estate officer comes in and negotiates the deal. Depending on, we've had several of these that we've already completed. We're trying to blend our portfolio, if you will. We're going to take a look at the advantage of buying in 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years. But it all depends on what the value of the money is during that time. And also each individual that we're dealing with may have a little different approach at how they do it. The nice thing is we could have a number of developers that we will do simultaneous negotiations with. It's not like a low bid type of thing. So the Department of Real Estate, our REO from Department of General Services will go and negotiate the best deal that meets the best interests of the state. So we'll put those purchase options in depending on how the competition is. Routinely, we've done them at 10, 15, and 20. Sometimes we've done them over 20 with a capitalized option. I don't believe we're going with the capitalized option this time. Was that a request? So we like to weigh all of our options. If it's a capitalized lease, usually we'll own it after 20 years. If it's cheaper for us to go with purchase options at 15 years or 10 years, then we'll do that. So it's just truly how the deal is negotiated.
Okay. Do you ever do a cost-benefit analysis of, like you said, the cost of money in this year versus doing a long-term lease and then you buy it in the 15th or 20th year where, if you bought it with appreciation of buildings and all of that, you may come out cheaper if you just go ahead and buy it in the first year as opposed to doing long-term, because I've seen some leases where we could have bought 3 or 4 buildings after the 25th year.
Yeah, again, Randy Katz, Department of Finance. It really depends on the nature of the lease, and before there's an approval of the contract to enter into the build-to-suit lease, DGS presents an analysis to the administration on which approach would be the most cost-effective to the state.
Okay. And then do you come back here, or is it approved by the governor? I'm new here.
At that point, the basically the request for proposal would then be reviewed by the Department of Finance, and the LAO would also have an opportunity to comment on it. And if there's concerns, they could re-examine the scope of the project and the option selected.
Okay, that's great. I'm just extremely excited about this comprehensive look on an approach that the department is taking. You may be a template, so that's why I may be closely watching what you do and how you do it, because I think it could ultimately save the state of California taxpayers a lot of money, and I think you'll also get a better product. Build-to-suit isn't always bad, and if you get good workers on there, project labor agreements and all of that, you can really get a great project. Okay, and then on the prior, there's number 3, authority to pre-appropriate prior year funds and continued support of chippers. So how much? When it says prior year, I didn't read the amount that it would be.
Numbers.
I didn't.
Do you have the numbers?
Or did I miss it?
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. The amount being reappropriated for chippers is going to be $15,983,000. Basically, it's split between $4.8 million for chippers phase 1, and 11.2 for phase 2. These are tower and vault replacements, so it's not the actual radios which were replaced about 5 years ago in the radio architecture, but it's actually generally they're mountaintop towers and vaults.
Okay. I didn't want to know that. Mr. Rodriguez wanted to know. He wanted to know what he was buying. so I just thought I would ask, since we're probably going to look at approving this once we get a quorum. I don't know what happened to Mr. Stone, but we're all going back and forth. You'll see us going in and out because we're all presenting bills right now as we get closer to May. So as soon as he's here, hopefully I can entertain a motion to approve the capital outlay budget and we can move forward.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Consent issue. Spring finance letter proposal. The administration's spring finance letter requests an increase of $900,000 for the working drawings phase of the new Lakeport Courthouse in Lake County. In addition, the letter requests reductions in 4 projects in Tuolumne, Sonoma, Shasta, and Santa Barbara counties, resulting in approximately $11 million in savings. That's a wonderful word. $11 million in savings. Whenever you're ready, identify yourself, and whenever you're ready.
Oh, sure. Yeah, Brian Dewey, Department of Finance.
Jason Haas, Department of Finance.
You want us to talk about the projects, or maybe we could have the AOC come up and
Okay.
talk about their proposals?
Sorry. Giselle Corey with the Administrative Office of the Courts. Thank you for considering our finance letter proposals. We have 5 proposals in front of you.
Okay.
One is for the Lakeport Courthouse, and that will, we are requesting $900,000 for working drawings. And, So that will provide additional reductions in square footage or increase from our governor's budget proposal, but it's an overall reduction to our last approved construction phase budget that was authorized by the legislature. And we have 4 projects in front of you, Tuolumne, Sonoma, and Shasta, and Santa Barbara, that also include decreases in square footage and decreases in construction phase cost. Those decreases were recommended by the Courthouse Cost Reduction Subcommittee, a subcommittee of the Court Facilities Advisory Committee to the Judicial Council, and they were recommended as a result of a review of the current space program.
Okay. In here you have, I guess on page 6, you have a $1,061,806. Is that a surplus?
So the table that starts, I believe, on page 3 and goes through page 6 represents what's the display that's in the governor's budget, and that includes the expenditures on projects that were previously authorized plus the newly authorized projects. The spring finance letters that are also being addressed on the agenda here would be incremental changes to what was included in the governor's budget. And I understand the staff recommendation, which we appreciate, is the approval of the governor's budget as revised.
And this $1 million is, you've already identified where that would go, or is that reprogrammed back into the capital fund and to stay there? I'm trying to.
This is a mixture of various funds. It'd be State Court Facilities Construction Fund, Immediate Critical Needs Account, as well as Public Building Construction Fund, which would be lease revenue bonds that would be issued and then repaid by the respective account.
So if I made a suggestion to use that money for the Kenyon Juvenile Justice Center in
I'm sorry.
Los Angeles, what if I wanted to reprogram that somewhere else? Would that be a hardship?
Well, I believe, based on the current fund conditions, that if you did fund additional projects, it would result in other projects having to be slowed, stopped, indefinitely delayed, and we'd have to take a look at the cash flow, the cost of that. This is just a 3-year snapshot of funding for the program, and there are other projects that will be coming forward in the coming years and receiving funding. I'm not sure I understand which project you're talking about specifically. That's more of a general
The
response.
LC knows, but you wouldn't know.
Okay. Okay.
I guess.
So is that the question to
Yes.
the AOC? So that would require a consideration from the Judicial Council as well, because it would indefinitely delay one of the projects that's in front of you today.
Okay. And what are you going to do with the 11 million savings then?
The 11 million in savings is being addressed by the Courthouse Cost Reduction Subcommittee because it's a plan for our overall fund condition. And so as our fund condition, it's adjusted because of revenues. We're never certain what the lease payments are going to be until we actually sell bonds. And so we're projecting that in our fund condition that we presented to the governor and the LAO earlier, that savings may be available, but it's not certain that it is at this time.
Okay.
So
So it hasn't been programmed, I guess is what you're saying? Not until
we can verify the various components of the revenue streams as well as the lease revenue payments that we'll be obligated to pay with the existing projects.
Okay, do you have any idea how long that would take?
No, but it's certainly something that we can bring back to the Court Facilities Advisory Committee to look at whether or not the Kenyon Courthouse can be inserted and whether that is where it fits within the current master plans for the LA County. And they would have to consider taking perhaps one of their other projects off the list. So I think the LA County is just also has to look at or LA Court has to look at what their priorities are and consider that as well and bring that to the advisory committee. So our 15-16 proposal perhaps can include some changes perhaps.
Okay, well, it'll be interesting to see if you could just mention it. I don't think this will be a priority for the LA County courts, but if you were to mention it to the Judicial Council.
Absolutely.
Let them know the chair would appreciate it, at least to take a look at it.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you. So now that it looks like we have a quorum, let's go ahead and take roll.
Jones Sawyer,
Here.
Stone, Rodriguez. We have a quorum.
Okay, on issue number 2, Judicial Branch Capital Outlay, I will entertain a motion to approve the capital outlay budget. I need a first. Good.
Jones Sawyer,
Aye.
Rodriguez, Stone. Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. And then we'll go back to the Highway Patrol Santa Fe Springs project. Also will entertain a motion to approve the proposed capital outlay budget.
Jones Sawyer,
Aye.
Rodriguez, Stone. Motion passes 3-0.
And actually, we were supposed to ask for public comment on both of those. So is there any public comment on the California Highway Patrol capital outlay spring finance letter and/or the Judicial Branch capital outlay spring finance letter? Either one of those finance letters. Good. So what we're going to do is take out of order the California Department of Justice to come to the table to talk about the statewide rate tip backlogs, update on cures, and then we'll finish off with the Judicial Branch. could you please identify yourself and begin whenever you're ready?
Sure.
From the Department of Justice.
Mr. Chairman, members, thank you. Dave Harper on behalf of the Attorney General of the Department of Justice. With me is John Yoshida. He's the chief of our Bureau of Forensic Services, and he's here to talk with you today about the rape kit issue in your agenda and answer your questions.
Okay. Well, could you at least briefly describe the work of the Rapid DNA Service Team, RADS?
Sure. The RADS program, RADS stands for Rapid Analysis DNA Service. It's sort of an acronym we came up for the program, which was designed to ensure a rapid turnaround of DNA analysis of evidence in all sexual assault cases. The sexual assault response teams in every hospital collect samples for the rape kits. We ask that they collect up to 3 more of the samples from the same areas which they feel have the best chance of having foreign DNA in them. So we train the SART nurses, SART doctors, and physician's assistants in how to do this. Those 3 samples are sent from the hospital directly to the laboratory, which they are processed every Monday, and we upload them. Our turnaround time in getting from the swab to a DNA profile to an upload in CODIS in 15 days. Right. That's what the program is designed to do. We've piloted this program for the last 2 years in 8 different counties, and before that we had a program called Fast Track, which was in the LA area, Santa Monica area, where we assisted the Rape Crisis Center there and turned around the cases in 5 days with a DNA profile and a search in CODIS. So we know the process works, and that is RADS. It's not a screening process. It takes the same samples, and it does the analysis, and it meets the needs of the law enforcement community.
Okay. And the reason I'm having you explain, because it's my understanding that the Attorney General and your office are receiving awards for this in Washington, and a lot of times we don't commend the work of what we do here in California, and especially you probably don't get a whole lot of kudos in the DOJ office, and so I just want to make sure we show that, we outline that, because this is a phenomenal thing. We recently had some legislation requiring counties to be able to expedite and get these rape kits done, and we got some pushback. But the things that you're doing in DOJ seem to be a great template or something that other counties could use. And I saw the CEO of the LA County, Bill Fujioka, walked in. He may have walked out, and I believe they've been having a backlog, and I'm glad to hear that you're looking at sharing this to other counties. Could the way you look at it, and the Attorney General Kamala Harris looking at this, is this something we could share with other counties so that we can go ahead and work through all these rape kits?
Yes, we are currently in the process of retooling some of our training classes, which we offer to forensic scientists throughout the United States and internationally, in providing sort of the technology for looking at automation, robotics, those kinds of things to make things a little more efficient in the sexual assault kit analysis. We also have invented a particular process to digest the cells in a vaginal swab in order to eliminate that extraction, so it cuts down the process, and we can sort of speed it up in getting the profile into CODIS for a search. I mean, our whole purpose is to sort of expedite this whole thing to be able to provide investigative leads.
Right. I don't have any other questions. Any committee member? Okay. We're going to hold the issue open because we may have some other questions later, because we really do want to maybe talk to the other authors of some other legislation that on this issue that we probably need to talk, because you may have the solution. So, again, I want to commend your department for what you're doing. This is excellent news.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, there. Well, Department of Finance, did you have any comments?
No comments.
LAO's office? Are there any public comment? Hearing none? Oh, we do.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair and members. I'm Michelle Thomas-Shaw, representing Alameda County District Attorney Nancy O'Malley, and we just wanted to say our strong support for DOJ's RADS program. We think it's one of the most effective and efficient in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to issue number 4, update on the status of Cures 2.0. So how are we doing? We gave you some money last year.
Yes, and Adrian Farley, California Department of Justice. We've worked collaboratively, obviously, with the Department of Consumer Affairs based on the appropriation that was provided in the Budget Act. We are on course to have an approved feasibility study. We've worked collaboratively with the Technology Department, and we'll be releasing a bid so that we can get proposals back from vendors beginning at the end of this month. So we believe we're on track to deliver Cures 2.0 at the end of June 2015.
What was last year? What was the original due date when you came before the committee?
The original request was that we would complete by the end of the next fiscal year.
Complete putting the system in or start getting data? What?
Was that we would implement the system at the end of next June.
Okay. And are there any other, for lack of a better word, any snags or anything else you need? Any other impediments? Could you get it done ahead of time?
We think that the timeline is reasonable given the complexity of the work. We have developed a good partnership with DCA, and we are working very closely with both the department as well as the regulatory healing arts boards to ensure that that all the stakeholders are engaged in the process, and that we deliver a system that addresses this critical public health need.
Okay. I'm not trying to back you in the corner, but you do know we haven't had the best of luck with computer systems in government in general. I'm not picking on any one group, but
right. This system is one that we believe in the measure twice, cut once approach to technology.
What does that mean? Measure, cut once?
Measure twice, cut once.
Is that a state thing?
No, that's a suit making thing.
The carpentry, okay.
So rather than go off without a good plan, we've been spending this time developing a good plan and good requirements so that when we go to market and try to find the best proposal, we can have a solution that will meet the business requirements and do so at an affordable cost and on budget and on schedule.
Great. I like that. I'll remember it and use it. Any questions from committee members? Okay. And Department of Finance? Oh, LAO? Everybody's quiet today. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Public comment. And this was more informational so we can, this is really important, and we want to make sure we stay on task because, as you know, at the end of the day, this is the #1 drug problem right now, prescription drugs. So
absolutely,
this is very important to the state right now.
We'll provide regular updates to your staff.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment? Okay. Thank you. So we're going to go back.